But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to, and many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it.
Sure, I'll go.
They're watching you, Neo.
Who is?
Please just listen. I know why you're here, Neo. I know what you've been doing. I know why you hardly sleep, why you live alone, and why night after night you sit at your computer.
I'm going to start off with something else now. You know, leading on from Edward Snowden's case, you know, about the, it was called the Global Surveillance Program, right, where this dude leaked, which is NSA, GCHQ involved. Basically, you know, it was actually in The Guardian, which I believe, I'm not sure about other media and that, or what it was, put across as compared to The Guardian. As I said, The Guardian's non-biased views, you know, that's just straight up facts, no opinions involved as far as I see. So I'm not sure about the other, mainstream. But what I've gone from this, right, is, what I'll start off with. Let me just stand this straight. You know, like a global surveillance program, which I discovered what it is. And basically, you know, it was illegal spying and that, you know, on many countries of the world, you know, without people realising and that. This is where it came along to, you know. Basically, they were doing it without anyone's permission. I mean, I don't know about spying on foreign soil, you know, basically spying on countries without their permission, and where that leads down to. But, you know, I do know, and I did see, as I said, China were one of the countries who were being spied on, basically, you know. On that, I know through that, you know, basically to know, especially with this conflict where China to be involved in this upcoming war, basically there's a lot of things that I already know generally that, you know, China being spied on was already illegal on that part of the NSA who were mainly doing it. I know something to do with China, they actually block off Facebook. I think they have Facebook blocked because it's something to do with the USA for starters, you know, and I'm not sure the full story behind that, but leading on from where Edward Snowden was saying that Facebook are actually part of, they're part of this, basically they're part of this global surveillance program, part of many websites. So I don't know even if that's to do with that, and China suspected that, which is why it's blocked, you know. There's a lot of reasons, but, you know, if you do your research after hearing this recording, you will find out when they were spying on China, they were basically hacking into their systems, you know, illegally. And, you know, I'll refer back to this, which I know is the Terrorism Act of the UK, the Terror Act 2000, it's a law. And, you know, ironically, from that, what I was saying, you know, that this law was laying down, you know, part of the Terror Act is basically hacking, you know, computer hacking or hacking electronic systems is against the law. I know that's the Terror Act of 2000, a UK law, in which GCHQ is basically secret surveillance, you know, like part of a secret service. So therefore, if they were hacking China, they basically were, you know, breaking the law for starters, doing that, because that's what they class as terrorism in the UK, Terror Act 2000. So, you know, that doesn't make sense for starters. You know, what I'll lead on from this, though, I'll just leave the brief points about it. You know, from that, you know, that's just making them hypocritical and showing you who the criminals are. You know, when GCHQ's involvement with the NSA, who are the main people. You know, from that, that's all I say. And, you know, I was saying this earlier, but I'll leave on this recording about, you know, about when it comes to things like, hold on, let me stop. Where I left off, basically, you know, on this you know, that they were basically illegally spying on China for starters, which is illegal anyway. And you know what was going along with, you know, another ironic thing they said, and how they complained about, you know, like, which I suspect they were doing too as well, North Korea, right? With North Korea, if you saw it in the news, do your research and that, you know, basically North Korea were accused, as it was said, I saw myself, for hacking Sony America, right? And basically they kicked up a big stink about it and said this and that, and it's illegal and everything, you know. They made a big thing out of it. And, you know, it's hypocritical because, you know, I can guarantee if they were illegally spying on China, it means they were doing the same to North Korea. And, you know, North Korea are near enough the same as China, you know, so I guarantee spying on North Korea was illegal, especially when you see the conflicts and stuff. You know, like, not many, couple of years ago, there was that thing where they were saying Kim Jong-un was going to fire nuclear things or something like that. You know, you can see that America's been trying to disarm North Korea of their nuclear power, which I said about, you know, to basically take away their self-defences of this upcoming war, which makes it more obvious about a war going to start anyway, World War III. But, you know, as I said, referring back to how they kicked up a big storm about North Korea hacking Sony America, accusing them. And, you know, it's a bit hypocritical, you know, when Edward Snowden leaked a lot of stuff to say, you know, proof to The Guardian and that, you know, that they're actually spying illegally on other countries, basically it's hacking, you know, hacking their systems, you know, hacking for their encryptions, you know, which they class as terrorists for starters, you know. It's another thing, you know, like, you know, how they talk about this group called Anonymous, apparently they're hackers and not. Generally what I know about them or what I've heard about them, you know, that's, you know what I mean, that's already hypocritical. But as I said, you know, the suspicious thing about this Sony America thing, and I don't know if it's the gullibility that they put into people's brains generally, you know, they make people believe everything they say, but you've got to ask yourself, first of all, why did they kick up a big stink about this thing known as Sony, which everyone, even me, thought is just like an electric company, you know, like make electric products, you know, PlayStations, just TVs and that, you know, in their systems you would assume they wouldn't have anything to do, you know, with serious stuff and that, you know, like any like secret documents, you just think it was just like financial income and all that stuff, you know, and the details about their products and nothing serious secret which needs to be hacked into. You know, you would ask yourself, why didn't they, if they did, or were being accused of it, why didn't they hack NSA, CIA, anyone like that, you know, Pentagon or whatever it is, you know, if they were looking for information, Sony, you've got to ask yourself that and wonder why. So for starters, right? So, you know, that just makes it more suspicious for starters, man. Obviously, they were attacked because this Sony America obviously is carrying vital information important to, you know, like Kim Jong-un, whoever was in, if North Korea themselves, if it's true they did it. As I said, it was an accusation, but, you know, so that's already suspicious for starters, man. You know, you've got to ask yourself that. They obviously had something, you know, something important in their system. Let's just put it across like that. So yeah, you know, that doesn't make sense for starters. I'm just going along what I'm going along, what I've got so far, you know, what I'm reading through. Yeah, and you know, this thing, which you should already be able to find online as well, you know, in news articles, you find these sources. You would have heard that Vladimir Putin, right, president of Russia, you know, it wasn't long ago I saw that as well, you know. And basically, you know, this conflict, it might have been Ukraine or Syria, whatever it was, basically Vladimir Putin and President Obama, you know, they were having conflict. They were basically, you know, proper going mad at each other for this conflict, you know. Things were heating up over whatever it was. And, you know, Vladimir Putin suddenly says, I have evidence that your government, the US government, they basically made that false flag operation for 9/11, and all I know is it was from a decent source. That Obama suddenly changed his tone. He started being cooperative with him. He basically calmed down. Basically started being friendly. There must be a reason, as if he knew that he really has evidence in 9/11. That being a false flag from the US government. If he knew it was a rumour, if he didn't, he knew he was lying, he would have just kept on going on. And this connects too from when he said it, that Edward Snowden was already taking refuge on Russian soil at the time. When he said this, and regarding to these documents that Edward Snowden leaked, which I believe were basically copied from the system onto whatever it was, a hard drive. That's telling me whatever he got, which would have been from the NSA, because this dude was high up in there, from their database. And what I'm assuming with good reason, it was basically from their system, satellite footage on who knows what else, documents, that prove that, the US government were part of the false flag operation, basically made it an inside job. I know satellite footage was involved. I vaguely think, I'm sure it was something to do with Russian satellite, footage, because a lot of governments have them in space. But I think actually the main thing it would have been from the USA's own satellite footage in that, and where they would have seen that, and that makes you wonder more. So it makes you wonder, because it basically, all I will say on that, in this Edward Snowden thing, basically it said that he has thousands of documents, and to just, this global surveillance program, I guarantee it's nowhere near 1,000 documents, no matter what's in it. And the theory lies along with decent reasoning, right? About this thing basically where the American government have basically put in a law to stop funding Edward Snowden, American citizens. If they do, they'll be arrested, right? Some kind of charity, some kind of thing to fund something for Edward Snowden. And I believe it's something to do with these documents. Some kind of movement, I don't know what it is, something to fund him, to expose him. And, they're so desperate to stop this dude from exposing them with all this information that basically, I believe they've done that. They've brought in a law to threaten any US citizen, from funding him. And it makes you wonder why. Why are they so desperate? Why are they so desperate to stop this? Especially when they were saying near enough, trying to say, it's nothing serious, and they lied a lot. When it was put out in the papers, exposed, they denied a lot of things, and they've tried acting calm about it. But the way they reacted to basically trying to convict this dude, Edward Snowden. Well, arrest American citizens from, if they fund and put in this law to fund this thing he's doing. You've got to realise, if you can imagine behind closed doors, wherever they were sitting talking about it, they must have been really, hands sweating and stuff, wherever they were, panicking that they came up with some quick solution. And it is always threatening with persecution and conviction. They always try and bring in laws, and they've brought in this actual law. I saw it, and it's it's stated from what they made, and that's what it says. It's like a it's like a rule statement, and it's got loads of things to say. You do this, you do that. So all I can tell you now is they obviously know, along with proving that it's not just a global surveillance program, that he obviously has information about the 9/11 false flag attack. That's already telling you something, which is nothing to do. And you don't, as I said, he's shown, or it's said that, like this dude who's supposed to be ISIS Islamic extremist group, is from those documents has got proof, that he's actually something to do with Israel and that, So it tells you that he's got a lot of more information that they don't want him to, they don't want him to basically expose him with. I can tell you that now, just from that analysis and from what, what I've discovered. You never know what he's got about other things, man. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised mainly if that 9/11 thing, but obviously, as I said, referring to Vladimir Putin mainly, and what he said about the satellite imagery, and how Obama reacted differently, started being friendly, cooperating. That basically says, the way he reacted, that it's obviously true, and he knows whatever Edward Snowden took off that system from the NSA is part of that, a part of that stuff that he took. And you can see why they were so desperate to extradite him, But all I know is, that dude, as I said, right, he's where he was high up, he was basically he obviously was taught and told, or knew how they, catch people and who basically expose him, like Bradley Manning and that. But that dude obviously outsmarted him. That's why he went to countries. He went to Hong Kong, and then he went to Russia as the second, resort, because, well, I know Hong Kong and especially Russia, to do with this conflict, are places where, he, as you can see, they wouldn't give him authorization to extradite him back to America to basically be in prison. So yeah, the dude outsmarted him, and you can see they're doing anything they can to try and keep him quiet or take him down. And they obviously know he's a threat as well. So yeah, we'll just keep the basics on that one. And then we'll move on.
As he said, a Orwellian euphemism for cuts.
For these intelligence services, it looks like a give-and-take relationship, a two-way street, or should I say, a five-way street. In Washington, I'm Ganesh Chekyan, RT.
And you know that thing to do with basically I don't know where it came from, but Edward Snowden again, this dude, you know, he was saying something about, and I think it might be to do with the global surveillance program, and they're saying that there was something someone quoted along those lines, that basically, you know, for this surveillance thing, that if you're not doing anything wrong, you got nothing to worry about thing, as if it's another way to justify what they were doing, illegally spying on people. You know, mate, I think it was mainly aimed at their own citizens, GCHQ, UK, and NSA, USA. You know, as if, you know what I mean, like to people, if you're not doing anything wrong, you got nothing to worry about. But, you know, that's not true, you know. I mean, a lot of people out there, you know, would probably, you know, not be happy with that, you know, if they felt they were, you know what I mean, that to go around having their phones recorded, being recorded everywhere they go, you know, it's the right, you know, it's your right to privacy, right, human rights and that, and all that stuff, which you supposedly have. And I know the UK and the USA, where you supposedly have those rights, you know, to privacy mainly, you know, they have no right to lawfully, you know, spying you basically, you know, unless you're doing something suspicious, you know, illegal, then they have the justifiable reason. So, you know, when it comes to that, you know, that's a breach of your rights anyway. So if they were the people who come across along that, with that, if you're not doing anything wrong, you got nothing to worry about, ideology or whatever it is, to try and justify what they were doing, that's not right, you know. You know, it's not right, you know. As I said, some people, I think a lot of people would, you know, be pissed off, you know, thinking that their privacy rights are being taken, and it's not justifiable for them to say that, you know. It's a human right thing, you know. You know, that Human Rights Act thing, what I looked up, and that's basically saying, you know, like the Human Rights Act 1998, you know, there's a right to privacy thing in there, you know, in there. And, you know, it's basically saying, you know, when everyone has the right for his, her private and family life, his, her home and correspondence, you know, private and family life, home and his correspondence. That's basically, you know, they're breaching that, you know, because this dude, Edward Snowden, leaked, and that, you know, like on your computer, if you've got a webcam or anything, you know, they're watching you, you know, they've been watching everyone who's got them. Even when they're turned off, they don't realise that they're on and they're being recorded. Everyone who's got them, UK and US especially, but a lot of other countries, you know, which didn't realise either in the world, a lot of them, you know, they were basically spying on the world, on their citizens, and who else knows. You know, I know they hacked China, which means obviously they got into China's databases and that, you know, encryptions and all that, maybe put those things they call Trojans in them, that basically spyware, you know, that's illegal already. Again, contradictory, especially for GCHQ. UK, you know, where they run under the law of, you know, hacking, which is a terrorism act. And then 2, there shall be no interference by a public authority with the exercise of this right, except such as in accordance with the law and is necessary in democratic society in the interest of national security, public safety, or the economic well-being of the country, for the prevention of disorder or crime, for the protection of health or morals, or for the protection of the rights and freedoms of others. You know, that's basically the number 2, Article 8, Right to Privacy, 1998, Human Rights Act, UK. That's basically saying, if you're doing something wrong, illegal, then we have the right to spy on you. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know, I agree with that, you know. And if it's secret surveillance, yeah, I agree with that, you know. But, you know, what people don't realise is that, you know, their mobile phones, as I said, the webcams, even if the light's not on, they're being recorded with a mic, even if they turn their mic off. When people have been sitting on their laptops, computers, webcams, they've been being recorded in the USA as well, you know, without their realising, you know. And there, you know, this facial recognition software, even if you're innocent, you know, through those laptops, they basically scan your face, you know, and they put it on their database, even if you're not a criminal. And it ties in with the last video I made, you know, about especially to do with this, what's starting in America as soon as it's already started. This basically the chip, these microchips, RDIF chips or whatever they are, they put under your skin. And what I put on that clip but didn't explain from that, you know, it's basically they're saying it's for, you know, like health reasons. It's another new way of health reasons. You get ill, ambulance comes along, they scan you, they know all your health history. You know, it's more sinister, and, you know, there's more to it than that. And, you know, tied in with that, basically, you know, through cameras, which they can do, all they have to put is in for the technology, it might even exist. You know, if you got those chips, they would be able to scan that chip for the camera. And, you know, it's basically another right of your privacy being breached. Everyone, you know, especially America and UK, is being spied on. It's like a big brother, you know. And as I said, those ties are the surveillance, but at 49 countries, well, 50 countries in the world. You know, as I said, the big brother that's watching them is Israel, Variant Systems. You do your research, see who owns that Variant Systems. The people who own, you know, who are in control of London Underground and what happened on 7/7, the people who didn't have the footage, even though they were recording of these supposed 4 Muslim terrorists. You know, they had a big brother, you know, 49 countries in the world, and they had a big brother watching. And, you know, when these people, well, in America, who will have these chips under their skin by 2017, as they're saying, when they're walking around, you know, what you don't realise is there'll be, you know, those cameras when you go do your shopping, they'll be watching, you know. And, you know, basically, I think it was an Adolf Hitler quote, you know, something about to do with governments and that, what he said himself. Basically, the way these governments have done it, they've taken away your rights little by little, you know, to the point that it's such in small amounts that you don't even realise, you know. You just accept every little thing, and it's so subtle that, you know, people walk around not realising their rights have been taken away. You know, there's a lot behind it, you know, and that's to tie in with the, you know, the breach of your apparently human rights to privacy. You got to think about that, you know, there's a lot behind that. Just tying in with whatever else I've been talking about. So, you know, and, you know, like, you know, smartphone apps, and you can do your research and that, especially Messenger, which ties in with Facebook, you know. And where Facebook quoted, basically lied that they're nothing to do with it. You know, Edward Snowden mentioned them in these documents who are part of this spying program. And even more to it, this Messenger app, if you've not seen what they've been saying about that, pardon me, and if you didn't discover it, you know, that those a Messenger app, but a lot of them are spyware apps, you know, but especially Messenger. And, you know, a lot of people didn't realise until someone realised. You know, when you download that app, it basically says that you accept to give access to the mic on your phone, to the camera, and every single thing, contacts, everything, you know. And that thing is just a spyware app on your phone. And, you know, as I said, man, I noticed this last year or whatever, right? When I used to lay on my bed at night in my room and it was quiet, I could hear the mic in my phone, and it was making, you know, like a sound. I could hear the sound coming from it. And basically what that was the mic recording. It was recording, you know, while I was sitting there. Obviously, I didn't notice that when I was playing music or if it wasn't quiet. And I don't know if anyone else would have heard that when they listened to this, if they listened. But, you know, it's more sinister, and that thing basically tells you everything. But as I said, yeah, if you listen to this recording and you go and check that app, you'll find out, even research. There's videos of people who YouTube have uploaded showing these things. So, you know, that's basically a spyware app on your phone, you know, and it shows and proves even more from what Edward Snowden said, that Facebook are part of this amongst a lot of many websites, Google, Yahoo, quite a few basically reading your emails and everything, you know. That's another breach of, you know, like your human rights and privacy. So, you know, referring to if these people who made the global surveillance program justifiably said, if you're not doing anything wrong, you got nothing to worry about. Well, the argument comes along, you know, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, why are you lying in the first place? And why do you need to spy me in the first place if I'm not doing anything wrong? If you don't have dirt on me, especially UK citizens, because they could say 1998 human rights, you know, which is a law again to privacy. That if I'm not doing anything wrong, I do a job, I don't do crime. Why are you spying on me? If apparently you only have the legal right to spy on me if I'm doing anything wrong. So, you know, that's already a breach, illegal and against your human rights in the UK. You know, so that it shows they're breaking the law and you're not, you know. So, yeah, you know, there's a lot of things beyond that. Just moving on from what I'm reading off my screen, you know, and putting all this down, just making sure, you know, I've got everything I need just to go through it. So be patient with me, right? You know, privacy, English law, I've gone through that. But we'll move on to mainly GCHQ, because this is more of a UK-based thing. But I don't know if American listeners listen to this. But, you know, this is one thing I saw, again, from Edward Snowden. GCHQ has tools to manipulate online information. Leaked documents showed from The Guardian, right? Oh, no, this is, The Guardian again, which he leaked the information to. And, you know, basically saying they developed sophisticated tools to manipulate online polls, spam targets with SMS messages, track people by impersonating spammers, and monitor social media postings according to newly published documents. By the NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. You know, there's a lot of things, you know, so basically that says, you know, they can manipulate anything online, you know, using this stuff they got. You know, when I looked at the website earlier, basically it said, you know, they're like basically hackers, right? But they're given the authority to do it, you know, to justify to do it, you know, by saying if you're doing a crime, we can survey you. But, you know, they'll convict people like, I think, Anonymous and that, you know, and say they're terrorists because, you know, because they don't have the legal right to do it. But they're, as seen from, you know, the breach of Human Rights Act, which they've done, that's already against the law. If you're not a criminal, they can't justifiably do it. And again, what they've done is breached the Terror Act 2000 law, again, where it says hacking is illegal, you know, tying those two together. So, you know what I mean, that's not right for starters, and that, you know, just going through other stuff, you know, other things that he leaked, right, something to do with Gateway, the ability to artificially increase traffic to a website, Clean Sweep, which is masquerade Facebook wallpapers for individuals or entire countries, right, Scrap Heap Challenge for perfect spoofing of emails from BlackBerry targets, Underpass to change outcome of online polls, Spring Bishop defines private photos of targets on Facebook. You know, there's a lot of things. This is all to do with manipulating images and that, you know, and all that stuff. So there's something that ain't right either. Why do they need to manipulate? Again, illegal of them to do. And it's just showing more and more about who they are, you know, by doing that. Another one where it says, and this is where it's saying the government of its GCHQ again views data without a warrant. You know, in law, you know, you need a warrant to do that. Again, you know, it's saying basically, again, you know, secret surveillance on people who aren't doing crimes, where the, you know, again, the Human Rights Act 1998 says and states that only if you're doing illegal stuff, they can legally spy on you. And that's where they need a warrant. Cops always need a warrant from the court, I think, to do things. So again, that's illegal, you know. It's saying on this article, which I'll put in the video, British intelligence services can access raw material collected in bulk by the NSA and other foreign spy agencies without a warrant, the government has confirmed. GCHQ's secret arrangements for assessing bulk material revealed in the documents submitted by the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, the UK surveillance watchdog, in response to a joint challenge by Privacy International, Liberty and Amnesty International, the legal action was launched in the wake of the Edward Snowden revelations published by The Guardian and other news organisations. Last year, you know, basically, and you know, time with that, you know, it's saying a lot of things already about this GCHQ. You know, that they're criminals, basically. They're breaking the law. You know, the government will call you a criminal for breaking the law if you do that. And so, why, who the government own, GCHQ, who they employ, why aren't they being convicted? Why are they justifying what they did when they're showing of breaking the law, basically? You know? So you've got to ask yourself that, you know. We'll move on, right? Just reading through what else I'm saying, sorry. Anything more important, you know. The government submission discloses that the UK can obtain unselected, meaning unanalyzed or raw intelligence information from overseas partners without a warrant, if it was not technically feasible to obtain the communication under a warrant, and if necessary and proportionate for the intelligence agencies to obtain the information. So, you know, basically, you know, without a warrant, basically they can take that data illegally, you know, and that ain't right, you know. Just seeing other things, you know. And then we'll move on to this thing, what I'm seeing as well, you know, where it's saying basically from a thing what they came down with, Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act, right, IPA, which governs much of the UK surveillance activities. This point that the GCHQ does not regard warrants as necessary in all cases is explicitly spelled out in the document, in which it says one of the things within this act, RIPA, Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act, right, they're saying, let me go back to where it's saying, reprint exception warrant is not as matter of law required in all cases in which unanalyzed intercepted communications might be sought from a foreign government. It states the rules also cover communication data sent unsolicited to the UK agencies. So, you know, that to me is saying, you know, which they need a warrant to do, and unsolicited, it's saying it's also illegal, you know, and what they're doing, you know. And when you listen to this recording, you'll start to see more, you know, that isn't right. Just reading through whatever else I see on here, which is, you know, important, but I'll leave these documents on here, you know, like the articles and that on the videos, so you can see myself. There's a thing saying, right, I see Privacy International, one of several advocacy groups, mount illegal challenges against GCHQ and NSA surveillance, said the revelation should cast further doubts on legal safeguards in the UK, right? And what they're saying, we now know that the data from any call, internet search or website you visited over the past 2 years could be stored in GCHQ's database and analysed at will, all without a warrant to collect it in the first place, said Deputy Director Eric King. It is outrageous that the government thinks mass surveillance justified by secret arrangements that allow vast and unrestrained receipt and analysis of foreign intelligence material is lawful. You know, well, you know, that's what it's saying. What it's putting across is they're saying, they're justifying it. They're saying, no, it's legal, we have a right. But, you know, as I said, refer back to it. I don't know the American law, but, you know, the Human Rights Act and the Terrorist Act, where they're saying, you know, they're basically breaking the law and doing exactly what is against the Human Rights Act and doing exactly what they say is illegal in the Terror Act. So, you know, it makes sense why, you know. Just seeing a lot of things, you know, there's a lot of things. I'll just go for the brief thing, but I'll move on and that. To what else I'm seeing, you know. Just stay with me on this, and then I'll move on to what else I'm seeing. This thing, right? Another leaked thing about, you know, another leaked thing like Edward Snowden. Basically, you know what it's saying on this about spying on GCHQ again, spying on British journalists and that, you know. Snooping on them, and you know, the thing where I'm reading this, where's it come? Saying this RIPA thing, you know, it has been used to access journalist communications without a warrant, with recent cases, including police accessing the phone recorders of Tom Newton Dunn, the Sun's political editor, over the Plebgate investigation. The call records of Mail on Sunday reporters involved in the paper's coverage of Chris Hunn's speeding tow are also accessed in this fashion. You know, basically, you know, that's again all to do with a breach of the Human Rights Act, you know. And why are they spying on journalists? You got to ask yourself that, because, you know, especially seen from The Guardian and that, where, you know, which is, you know, one of those things, and then referring, I don't know what that story is about, but why, makes you wonder why they're accessing journalists, you know. Because, you know, one of those ones was, he was a journalist for the Senate, was saying, political journalist, you know. People like that, they're obviously, you know, they're a threat as well to exposing people. Because, you know, if they go and write these things and say, you know what I mean, they obviously know things that they want to access to make sure, spying. There's a lot of things, more behind this story, and everything to do with it. Moving on, man, and just seeing what else. Stay with me on this, right? It should be as short as possible, right? Moving on to the next article, which I'll put up on the video as well. And it's saying another thing. The UK and US GCHQ NSA surveillance regime was unlawful for 7 years. It was called the Global Surveillance Program, what they called it. The regime that governs the sharing between Britain and the US of electronic communications intercepted in bulk was unlawful until last year. A secretive UK tribunal has ruled. Investigatory Powers Tribunal, right, declared on Friday that regulations covering access by Britain's GCHQ to emails and phone records intercepted by the US National Security Agency, NSA, breached human rights laws, So that's saying both countries' human rights laws were breached, and this is from people who are investigating. It was a secretive UK tribunal. Obviously people who know more about it, basically like a law thing, like, I don't know what that thing is, but it's something to do with court, so, even they're saying it, and this is why, which I'll go on along more about, Edward Snowden and that when it comes to it, and, after I've gone through this, man, there's a lot of things that ain't adding up, from what people have been, how it's been put across through the media, and what they've been saying, that they had the right to do it. It's contradicting what they said in that. There's a thing, what I'll put up, to do with footage released, the Guardian editors destroying Snowden hard drives and that. I'm not sure about what it is, and I won't go into that, but I'll leave the article on there. But obviously, when that dude gave them copies, I'd assume, not the actual official documents, but copies of the documents, I'd assume they obviously destroyed it for a reason. I don't know why. Maybe they knew someone was coming for them, and they didn't want them to take it back, But, there's a lot of things behind it. And, I was saying this earlier, I can't remember if I've said this on the recording. I've gone through the GCHQ thing anyway now. But, NSA thing and all that. But, basically, to do with the North Korea thing where they were saying about Sony and that, kicking up a stink saying, North Korea, you're bad and that, you're criminals for doing that. It's a bit hypocritical now, tying back into what I've been talking about. How they're saying it's justifiable for them to do what North Korea, they're saying North Korea did to their Sony was criminal acts, but now they're saying what they were doing, not just to, the UK and US, but doing to a lot of the world. Illegal hacking, basically, human rights, illegal, as I've said, is justifiable, How come that's justifiable? Because what North Korea did, or what they're being accused of, who knows? Is basically what they were doing. There's no other way of doing it. There's no other way to say it. But it tells me more, this is the even more thing about it. Basically North Korea weren't doing what they were doing in the first place. North Korea weren't even using this global surveillance program illegally spying on its own country and a lot of countries in the world. North Korea did it for a reason. They hacked Sony for a reason, So, they did it for a reason, and they, even if they were found out or whatever, they weren't doing it to the world without the world not realising, Unlike the NSA, GCHQ, it said we're doing it for 7 years without people's knowledge until this dude, Edward Snowden, the whistleblower, went and leaked all this information. And I go back to this thing, about him being portrayed as a traitor by corporate media and that, to the US and even in UK papers, and who knows elsewhere. This is what I'm talking about, right? you know, basically it doesn't make sense, you know, especially when you put it across. Basically, the way I see it, as I said, the deception a lot of soldiers are given, who end up shutting a lot as well. It's just the same as, you know, Secret Service, man. You know, a lot of people obviously like this dude Edward Snowden. When he started at the bottom, you know, probably CIA, where I believe he started, where he climbed to NSA. You know, he was obviously told a different thing to it. He was obviously told, oh, you're helping the country, you know, you're serving, you know, you're protecting the civilians of the USA, the women, children, the men and that, you know, you're protecting our country. And, you know, obviously there's a reason why that dude, you know, why that dude did what he did. As I said, let's just say, yeah, the salary that he had and that, you know, as I said, he had a place in Hawaii and all that stuff, apparently. You know, it was obviously a decent salary. And this dude obviously sacrificed that to, you know, go on the run for a reason, to take refuge in Russia. Because, as I said, obviously morally that dude said, and what he discovered, as I said, it seems he has more information, not just about illegal spying, but, you know, surveillance to say that 9/11 was an inside job is said about this dude who's the ISIS leader is actually an actor who's involved with Israel putting on a front of some kind of Islamic organisation made up front, which it's been leaked to do with the CIA as well, you know, obviously this dude saw a lot of bad things, especially 9/11, and you can put that across, you know, this is me working it out, that, you know, especially the 9/11 thing, it seems he has the footage to prove that this dude, obviously seen as he must have thought he was being a patriot and protecting his country, obviously saw that 9/11 thing and said, shit, you know what I mean? This thing that obviously shocked me, like most humane people in the world. Done on my own soul in sort of New York, and that things happen, that, you know, that's wrong. And that's probably one of the main things why I did it. So, you know what I mean? Sometimes you've got to, you know, sometimes people, you know, as I said, it really is true, you know, the gullibleness of people, how it's been slowly been led through the media, you know, have been led on that they don't use that critical thinking for themselves. It's basically, you know, put, you know, like when I saw in that article, Daily Mail, traitor Edward Snowden, this traitor, people are like basically listening, they're saying, we're telling you as a traitor, you know, listen to our opinion, don't take your own opinion, don't use critical thinking. And it's the same to do in mainstream media. All I don't, you know what I mean, I'm not biased in that. I look at things from both sides, man. But, you know, when it comes to, from what I've learnt from mainstream media, basically, and how it works, it's based on opinion. It's not used in critical thinking. It's journalists on those things, mainstream news mainly. You know, they don't actually do critical thinking. They just say, you know, they basically say, this is this is that, this is what we're telling you, accept it, and people do. And, you know, I look at it from a non-biased view, and I always look at both sides, you know, like a court case. And that's why I look at it like this. And, you know, what it's coming out as, you know, that, well, what I've been talking about, there's, you know, this GCHQ, NSA thing is more sinister than it seems, man. So, you know, just going across this, just seeing if I've covered everything before I move on, and you know, there's a lot of things. It's basically this global surveillance program thing, which was leaked, what it was called, you know, like their code name or whatever they called it for what this thing they were doing. Global surveillance, it says a lot already. You know, which is when NSA, global surveillance. You know, basically, as I said, man, they're basically spying, illegally spying, global being the word, on a lot of the world. Who knows, maybe the whole world, man. But as I said, you know, if they didn't give permission to those countries they're spying on, obviously they can be, you know, I don't know how it goes with the world, you know, like a court case involving, you know, like other countries, but they could be convicted for that, you know. They should be sent to court, the people who run those countries, and anyone who was doing it involved in the NSA, and anyone, they should be sent to a court, you know, and convicted and imprisoned for that, you know, for starters. And as I said, you know, mainly China, where it was discovered they were doing, as I said, mainly China, you know, they were illegally spying on them, man. You know, that's basically hacking for their systems. Because I recall seeing something to do with basically China blocked off, you know, whatever they call encryptions or whatever. So no foreign country, you know, especially the US, you know, can't access their systems or even, you know, survey them without their permission, or if they let them, you know, basically if they grant them permission. So therefore that's even more illegal, and that's just proof of one country that they hacked, you know. It is basically what they did. They hacked their systems, you know, like their telecommunications and all that, you know, like internet and that, so they could spy on China's citizens, who knows, maybe even access their government files and stuff like that, you know. There's a lot of things behind that. So, you know, I'm just going to keep it as brief as possible, this recording. I just want to give a bit insight into this thing, so people who listen to this, they can see, you know, there's a lot behind it. I'm just trying to keep on track and make sure I get everything recorded before I finish this. But, you know, that's another thing you should research, right? You know, like phone apps, and it's not just Messenger, right, which does this, you know. There's a lot of apps out there on your phones that you download, and you know, there's a lot behind this thing, you know, why they have GPS location on them, and a lot of things like that, for starters, you know. Where it comes along with technology, you know, it's just that front that's put across on you, you know. They say, smartphones, new technology, and people, you know, use for that thing where they don't realise the full story behind it, like this RDIF chip thing, which is already happening in America. You know, they say it's for this, but there's a lot more behind it they don't tell you, you know. And it's just like smartphones, you know, GPS location. The way I see they put that front across is so you can use it, and maybe that you can. Again, the same thing with the RDIF chip as for health reasons, but there's more behind them. You can just use it for, you know, the map location things when you're lost in a city or whatever, you need to get directions, like a sat-nav thing, you know, because again, GPS, right, that, you know, that comes from a satellite, and that basically is another way of tracking people without realising it, you know. That's like spying on people, you know. And, you know, especially with this Messenger app, where it says you have to share your location when you download this app, you know, and where Facebook lied and said, no, we're not spying and it's all lies, even though it says when you download that app, it basically says you have to allow access, and they're saying, nah, it's not that, it's, you know, it's not right, man, you know. So yeah, you know, same as the Messenger app where it's recording you when you don't know. So yeah, you know, there's a lot of things behind that, and people don't realise it, you know. So, you know, you got to do your own research when it comes to this stuff. You know, this is just me using the abilities I was given, you know. You know, what I was born with and that, you know, based on the conspiracy about who I am and that, and the stuff behind that. You know, these are just things, natural things in my genes, I believe. But, you know, there's a lot of things behind it that people don't realise. So, you know, I've just kept to try to keep this video as brief as possible. But, you know, always do your research. I'll leave what the articles I've found and that, you know, to put along what this dude Edward Snowden's leaked in that through The Guardian and that. And, you know, you just have to do your own research and find these things out yourself, because, you know, there's a lot of things behind what you don't know. A lot of things. You know, as I said, you know, with, again, referring to this blacklisting thing, you know, you can research that. Basically type in suspicious deaths, ex-Secret Service or whatever, if you go on Google, or cover-ups and that, or things like that, yeah. And all I remember seeing, you know, as I said, it basically what you call blacklisting, where anyone who goes on the run and, you know, from the Secret Service, and it tries to expose them, that's what they do. And as I said, it was two dudes, as far as I remember, who went on the run, you know, and they thought they were, I think they must have thought they were escaped. They went into a bar or something, just, you know, to have a drink and that, and basically they'd been spiked and that, and, you know, with poison, and they died in that. And, you know, that was a cover-up, and again, leaked information. You know, when it comes to this thing, this is what I had. You know, I've heard it, you know, like in G-Unit track, Tony Yeo saying it on his track, Bad News, I think it is, and basically he's talking about crime, but on the streets, and it's basically saying, you never leave traces and leave evidence. Well, we can refer to this, which is still crime, with 9/11 and why there's things been revealed. Because when you obviously lie or you try to cover up things get leaked. Seeing no to those videos, 9/11, 7/7, ripple effect, and all that. What I put up, things get leaked, and that's where they make mistakes. So there's a lot of things, to do with that, and I just don't get. As I said, I just don't get why a lot of people in the world are still asleep. Because, I feel I haven't even woke up a lot of people. And people are so, I don't know, closed-minded maybe. I don't know if a lot of people have woken up, as I said. But, I don't think enough have. And, I don't get it. Because, when people say you got to see it to believe it, I feel them on that, a lot of things. But, as I said, what I was saying, that Vladimir Putin is saying, which I believe through Edward Snowden, what he took from the NSA, that he's got secret satellite image, which I believe is from American government, where it was leaked for their documents, of proof, and who knows what more, that the American government, like Bush administration, and that were part of this inside job, false flag operation. And, I'm thinking, based on, not enough people are asleep, that if this dude, Vladimir Putin, if he leaks this information and shows it to the world, it will prevent what we're calling World War III and everything I've said. What happens after that, basically a world martial law. If Russia and China and that lose, and what happens after that, people being dictated to, rights being taken away, basically. It could prevent this, and the war itself, soldiers and that, soldiers who are mums and dads and all that, from dying in these wars, because they're being told it's for good will, they're being deceived. It could prevent a lot of bad stuff if Vladimir Putin leaks all this information, exposes him, and says this. It'll prevent a lot, because based on those people who are skeptical, it would basically call people like me, David Icke, and that, conspiracy nuts, or in a more kind of way, if you can't prove it, we don't believe it. Well, if Vladimir Putin, reveals the secret information, this information, with, footage, and who else knows what, what Edward Snowden leaks, well, that's something they can see to make them realise it's the truth. And what will leave from there is they will realise the people they were calling conspiracy nuts from 9/11, who were talking about the 7/7 stuff and everything that's happened in Madrid, all of those, to Sydney and Paris and all these things, what have been called false flag operations. Just from seeing that, they'll know everything else was an inside job, and they'll wake up and see the truth and everything else that's been talked about. And basically they'll stand up for themselves, wake up and say, look, what you're doing to us is wrong, and we're not going to let you do this, especially when in a lot of these countries, especially UK and US, where apparently democracy exists and that, but obviously it doesn't. And, people are still led to believe that, they basically, their government listens to them and that, when they don't. So yeah, it would wake up a lot of people, and it would change things, if a lot of people realise that was the truth. I just try and put this on videos and that, and then hopefully people can share this, and put it across to other people, until they wake up. All I will say in the end of this recording is the one what I said about the forensic evidence and stuff about 9/11 and 7/7 and stuff to do with this ISIS and the connections to Israel. That one needs to be shared the most to those skeptics. Because as I said, Vladimir Putin hasn't released this evidence he's got. So, that thing to those skeptics who, it basically must go on until I see it, I won't believe it. They can't argue against that video. Because, that is proof from, experts, demolition experts, who know how buildings, when they're controlled demolition, come down, who noticed it was controlled demolition when they come down. as I said, the architects who basically said, you know, those planes hitting the towers is like a fly net in your kitchen, right, and flies going into it. You know, basically that's what those planes would have been like effectively on the World Towers. You know, the World Trade Center, it wouldn't have done nothing to him in the first place. You know, even the architect himself who made it said, you know, a multiple amount of planes, probably bigger than the planes that hit the towers or the same size, could have hit the towers and they wouldn't came down. Who made it, and you know, there's a lot of things, and you know, like the media forensic expert who analysed those ISIS beheading videos and that to be fake. You know, like the camera angles and the, you know, how it's showing. No, not the camera angles. It's saying like it's basically a studio footage. You know, basically it's showing that the Japanese hostages. It's showing there's light coming from 3 different directions. For starters, cast shadows. Which basically says, you know, anyone knows the sun only casts one shadow. So it already proves, you know, that there was more lights. You know, there's a lot of things, the ISIS thing and that, beyond that, I can't remember what came across as that. All I know is Edward Snowden, there's already leaked documents to prove that. But, you know, there's a lot of things. Yeah, well, basically ISIS connection where they're saying that Jihad John or whatever, you know, he was supposedly this and that, you know. So, you know, that video has a lot of forensic proof where the skeptics couldn't argue against, for starters. Just thinking of anything else. And all I will leave this with, based on this ISIS thing, and what I said on the first recording I made, a couple of points you've got to ask yourself, for starters. We'll start off with, you know, yeah, there is, you know, where it comes along, well, it's seen that it's an ISIS group, even though they've been leaked to be CIA invented. Yeah, there's a lot of extremists, there's a lot of dudes, you know, dressed in that. But the thing you've got to realise is the CIA who implanted this fake terrorist organisation or whatever it is, anti-Western movement in the Middle East. And that, you know, basically they got this dude who's basically an actor, a fake, you know, Israel Mossad agent, you know, to go to the Middle East and to Syria and that and say, you know, I'm the leader of this thing, do you want to join? And basically Muslim extremists in Syria, the people who are extremists, were led to believe that he is, as much as the rest of the world for the media thought he really is, you know. And so they joined. That's the only simple way to put it, you know. So, you know, whoever's, you know, him, this person who's playing the leader of ISIS, who's actually a Mossad agent, and anyone else who's part of this fake ISIS movement knows what it's about. But those Muslim extremist men in that thing actually think that, you know, they're part of a movement, but they don't realise, you know. Same as that video where I think it's a senator or something or whatever he is, and that other video where he actually admits that, you know, he's part of the US government. He admits, you know, that they are working with ISIS. They're basically funding and they actually made them up. So, you know, and then as I said, something else I was going to think of to do with this ISIS, which slipped my mind, which is why I said the first thing, that, you know, there's a lot of things behind it, you know. And, you know, again, as I said, you know, on this, you'll see the photo, you might have seen it, where this supposed leader of ISIS, you know, is wearing a jewellery and that. And as I said, is supposedly a Muslim as well. And all I know is, what I know is Muslims, the Muslim religion, you don't wear jewellery. And again, you know, I said this in the first video, and this is another question you got to ask. You know, they're saying they're mainly against Israel, you know. They're actually mainly anti-Israel, but mainly anti-West. And, you know, you've got to ask yourself, you know, they're in Syria, it's very right close to Israel. And yet, you know, they're attacking everyone else, but why aren't they attacking Israel? Especially, you know, the connection with the Middle East, Palestine, and, you know, the Muslim population of Palestine who are being victimised by Israel. Why aren't they going in it? Why, you got to ask yourself, why aren't they attacking Israel? Because, you know, Israel is on that continent in the Middle East. They're not in the West, America on the other side of the ocean, and yet they aren't attacking, you know, where they could. You know, it makes it more obvious with, even though, and this is what Edward Snowden has leaked with, as information, you know, that this ISIS leader is actually a Mossad agent, and that has been leaked, you know. So you've got to ask yourself these things, you know. there's a lot of more things, and I hope this recording, you know, makes more people wake up with everything I've been sharing. You know, there's a lot of things behind it, and, you know, it gets scarier and scarier when you discover it. So that's all I was saying there, so try and keep it short. And so if you watch this video and you follow me on it, then just share it, and, you know, wake more people up so more people see the truth. Cheers for listening. Mace signing out.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you want to know what it is? When you go to church, when you pay your tax, it is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. That you are a slave like everyone else. You were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
We have survived by hiding from them, by running from them. But they are the gatekeepers. Where they have failed, you will succeed.
Why?
They will never be as strong or as fast as you can be.
What are you trying to tell me? That I can dodge bullets?
No, Neo. I'm trying to tell you that when you're ready, you won't have to.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without rules and controls. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
You like watching him? Don't be ridiculous.
We're gonna kill him. You understand that?
Morpheus believes he is the one.
Do you?
Doesn't matter what I believe.
You don't, do you?
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
Are you sure this line is clean?
Yeah, of course I'm sure.
I better go.